זכותך ושבו בנים לגבולם.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Have a lovely Shabbos. Thank you. Okay, so we're saying good Erev Shabbos. Oh, Shalamet, I'm very happy to see you there too. Dave, hi, Mom. Thanks, Dave, for getting Mom on. And we have Mrs. Dweck there as well. Sorry, I'm just closing my door. We just had a mini challah bake here for an Erev Shabbos, celebrating somebody keeping Shabbos for an entire year. And what more beautiful time could there be? What more beautiful time could there be than this Erev Shabbos, and having also on Shabbos the yard site of Mama Rochel. And we are honored tonight once again to welcome Tali Barwin. And for Tali and for her wonderful mum, Mrs. Dweck, it's also a special evening because we have an opportunity to be able to dedicate the shir tonight, the Ilu Nishmas Sheva Bas Yitzchak, and she should have an Aliyah, Hanashamas, and as I said to Tali before, what an incredible thing is for her being there to be able to see her wonderful children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and all the Torah that comes from this very beautiful family. So the truth is, Mrs. Dweck, you should continue to have lots and lots of nachas. And it's really a pleasure for us to have you here with us, as it's a pleasure to have your wonderful Tali with us as well. So thank you.
Oh, Joanne, always such beautiful words. Thank you so much. Thank you for your lovely words. And yes, Le'ilu Nishmas Sheva Bas Yitzchak. Feel very honored, Mum, to be doing something for the Aliyah Banashama, a very special lady. And she's given you amazing specialness, Mum, as well. So
I just want to add something, and I said it to the young lady who we just made this hafrashas challah for before, and I didn't get to say hello properly to my mother. So Mom, hi, and David, thank you for getting Mom on the be able to listen. But I said, you know, we think that we choose the dates. We think we choose the dates, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, well, you thought you wanted last week, the week after, this one, and this is the week that worked. And it was the week that worked because I don't know if you had thought about it before, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew already that it was going to be the yahrzeit of your grandmother.
Absolutely. Amazing hashgacha, Joanne, really amazing. Baruch Hashem. So pleased that
and
it
you
worked.
can screen share. Anita's here with me.
Perfect.
And I'm going to, Anita's here with me. I wouldn't trust myself to do anything. And Sippy's gone on maternity leave. So the screen's yours.
Can you all see that as it come up?
Oh, we love it.
Perfect.
We love it.
Stunning picture, right? Really beautiful picture. I feel that it's such, apart from being a beautiful image, just such a beautiful reminder of why we're here tonight, and learning for tomorrow night for the yahrzeit of Rochel Imeinu, and really wanted to spend some time. I know the title of the shir, really, I'm going to be going more on about that later, but just to really think about Rochel and her life. And I think, first of all, obviously, I'm going to be covering a few, I'm just going to try and change the screen to the next one, but I don't think it's letting me. Can you see the next screen or not?
Yeah.
Oh, are you on the next screen?
On click, it says here, no, there we got the questions.
Perfect. Okay, good. So I really wanted to look at the following things tonight. First of all, why was Rochel Imeinu so special? Second of all, is all giving the same? What Rochel did, what she was able to do for her sister, is giving always the same? Are there differences between the different types of giving? And Rochel and silence, which we'll hear more about. What is the strength of silence? We're going to look about Yaakov's reaction to Rochel when she asks for children, a beautiful concept from Rabbi Yitzchak Arama. And then why Rochel is called Mama Rochel? We don't hear Mama Sarah, Mama Leah. We don't hear anyone else as Mama Rochel. Why is Rochel Mama Rochel? What is so significant about Rochel Imeinu? And I think to start off with, just to really remind ourselves of the story, how under the chuppah, Lavan wanted to give the older daughter, he wanted to give Leah first. So even though Yaakov had worked for 7 years for Rochel, under the chuppah, he was actually given Leah. And when they were under the chuppah, they got married. There was, the veil, and there was a sign that was made between Yaakov and Rochel. Knew how conniving Lavan was, and there were signs that were made between them. And Rochel knew that Leah was going to be incredibly embarrassed, and she gave over the signs to Leah. And what's really interesting about this is that we don't hear at any point regret from Rochel. Even when she's infertile, we don't hear any regret from her at all. And later on, we have a very interesting exchange, which we're going to look into, to do with the dudoim, the mandrakes, which was a fertility drug, between an argument between, not an argument, I would say it was an argument, it was a discussion between Rochel and Leah about these dudoim. And I think it'd be really interesting to explore that soon. So first of all, I wanted to talk about a very famous medrash, which I have to say, if any of you have not read this medrash inside, when I read it inside, and you can read it inside in Our Heritage on page 960, I have never been so moved by any medrash ever. And I was so shocked that we've all heard the famous part of the end of this medrash. But I think for me, I'd never read the entire medrash. And it's actually in the Our Heritage book under Tisha B'Av, because it's a medrash from Yirmiyahu, who was the person who was talking about the exiles, about the Golas. And I would really recommend this medrash. I'm going to summarize it, but I promise you I'm not doing justice, because it really is incredibly powerful. So it's at the point that the Beis HaMikdash is being destroyed, and you are having the enemy coming in to destroy the Beis HaMikdash, and it's got flames, and it's all happening. And Hashem actually is having a conversation. He is absolutely distraught in this conversation, and with the Malachim. And I have to say, you really sense the pain that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is experiencing as the Beis HaMikdash is being destroyed. And he's speaking to Yirmiyahu, and he's asking for comfort. And he ends up asking Yirmiyahu to bring Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Moshe to comfort him as well, almost to come and to lament with him. And you hear, and again, as I said, I'm missing out lots of it, but basically you hear Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov come, and they rip their garments, and they rip their beards, and they are incredible anguish here for the Jewish nation. And and Avraham comes and he says to Hashem, like, who's bringing this, this against the Jewish people? And the Torah comes, and Avraham puts the Torah in the place and says, how can you come against the Jewish people? Look at all the years of learning, look at everything. And the Aleph base come and says, how can you come? Look at the Aseret HaDibros, and a beautiful medrash. And we get to the point that Avraham turns around, and Avraham says to HaKadosh, he says to the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I gave up. I am the midah of chesed, of kindness. I went against my midah of chesed. I did the exact opposite, and I was willing to offer my son up for you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Can you not have mercy on your children? And Hashem does not respond. Yitzchak comes, and Yitzchak said, I was willing to be Moser Nefesh. I was willing to give my own life up. And he goes on, and Hashem again does not respond. Moshe says, I gave up everything to shepherd your people. For 40 years, I led them in the desert. I had all the difficulties that they came up against, and I was loyal to them, even though I couldn't lead them to Eretz Yisrael. And there's no response. And there's a bit here that is missed out. Most people don't know this bit again, but it's a really interesting bit, actually, that Avraham Moshe actually goes along to see the Jewish nation, and he's distraught by what he's seeing, almost by the severe scene of Jewish people being killed and dying and all of this. And then at that point, Rochel Imeinu comes before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and she turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, I, flesh and blood, a human being, I was able to give up for my sister. I'm going to read this part because I think it's nice to read this, perhaps. She said, one second. I'm going to read it from here, actually, because I've got it in front of me here. It's much clearer than on the screen. It's too little for me, unfortunately. So she says, Rochel threw herself before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and she says, Master of the world, you know that Yaakov loved me greatly, and he served my father for 7 years on my behalf. When the time came for me to be married, my father contrived to replace me with my sister, but I was not jealous of my own sister, and I did not expose her to shame. If I, flesh and blood, dust and dirt, did not show jealousy towards my rival who caused me grief, then why are you, an eternal, compassionate king, jealous of the idols who have no essence? Why do you exile my children? And at that point, Hashem's mercy was immediately awakened, and he said, for your sake, Rochel, I shall return Israel to her place. As the verse says, so says Hashem, a voice has been heard on high, lamentations and bitter weeping, Rachel mevaka aboneho, and she refuses to be consoled. Stop your voice from weeping, Rochel, and your eyes from shedding tears, for there is reward for your effort, hope in the end, and your children shall return. I really feel like it's an incredibly powerful medrash, and I still feel like I haven't given it justice, so I would really read it inside. So we see that Rochel really, she put everything out for her sister, and it was only her that Hashem was actually responded to. Avraham, he didn't respond to. Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, nobody. He only responded to her. And the question is, why did he respond to her of all the other people? And we're going to come back to that in a second. We're not going to answer that question because as a Jewish voice goes, almost one thing leads on to another question, but we will come back to that. What's really interesting, and I've got this scene again in front of you here. So Rosh Shvadron says something very, very interesting. We're going to, when I told you before about this conversation between Rochel and Leah about Dudaim, about fertility drugs. So what happens is Reuven, the son of Leah, comes with a fertility drug, the Dudaim, and Rochel sees this. Now Rochel has no children at this point at all, and she turns around and she wants the Dudaim. So she asks for the Dudaim, and Leah turns around to her, and she says to her the following words. So Rochel says, Tani lo midudei benech, please give me the Dudaim of your sons. And Leah says to her, is it not enough you took my husband? And now you're going to take the Dudaim of my son? Can you believe? Rochel said, is it not enough that you took my husband? Is it not enough you took my husband? Who gave up her husband? Rochel gave up her husband. How can they talk like this? How can she say this? Doesn't make any sense to us. How is it possible that there's no Hakaras Hatov from Leah? That she's not understanding what's going on here? And Rav Shlomo Shvadron gives an amazing insight. He says Leah never knew that Rochel gave her the signs. She did it so subtly. She did it in a way that was so careful that she didn't even make it look like there were signs between them. She gave them over without even, she had the finesse and the delicate, she did it so delicately that Leah was not embarrassed in front of her sister at all because she didn't even realize what Rochel had done for her. And that is the power of Rochel. And it's interesting because when we think about Rochel and how she was mevata, how she gave up, so we think to ourselves like, what is being mevata? What does it mean to give up? And there's lots of different ways to be mevata, and some of them are actually not positive and some are more positive. So I think I just wanted to think for a second about what is it like to say yes from a position of weakness? Saying yes from a position of weakness means I'm saying yes because I feel guilty. I'm saying yes because I don't really want to say no. Okay. And give you an example. I'll give you a personal example. Someone asks you a favor and you feel bad to say no, but you know it's really difficult and it's going to be really costly. And actually, it's a favor that they could work out perhaps another way, or another solution could be found. But you say yes because you feel bad. How does that feel afterwards? So often, when you do a tova, when you say yes from a position of weakness, it doesn't feel good afterwards. It feels actually not good at all because you feel doesn't sit right, and you feel like, did I really do the right thing there? Should I really have said yes? Whereas when you do a tova from a position of strength, you are saying, I am doing this because I know it's the right thing. I know it's hard, it might be costing other areas, but it is so clearly right to me. There's no questions almost. I just do it. And when that happens, when you're doing something in that way, you don't need anyone to tell you, oh, thank you so much, I really appreciate it, or you did the right thing. You innately feel it was the right thing to do. And when that happens, there's no need to get any validation externally, to get any thanks. You know you did the right thing. And I think it's really important when we're talking about being mevata to other people, that it's coming from a position of strength, not from a position of weakness. Because being mevata from a position of weakness, it's not a positive thing. It's not healthy. And it doesn't actually lead to feelings that are good feelings. And it doesn't come from a good place. So I think it's really important to be careful to make sure it is coming from a good place. Anyway, Rochel clearly was mevata from a very, very strong place. She knew she had done the right thing, and she didn't need anyone else to know about it because she was so strong and sure about what she had done. And there was no feeling of jealousy later from her. Even when her sister says this to her, we never see Rochel retaliate. We never see Rochel say, what happened to me? Because Rochel knew what she did was so right and so clear. She had absolute clarity. And it's interesting because we actually see that Rochel has the midah of shasika, of silence. And there's a very nice medrash, I haven't quoted it here, how Rochel had this midah of silence, and this midah of silence was also running through her family. So Rochel had the son Binyamin, and Binyamin was silent when he knew that Yosef was sold, he kept quiet. Shaul HaMelech, when he already had the melucha, the kingship, he wasn't told to make it, it wasn't public yet, he kept quiet. And the biggest example, again, is Esther HaMalka, third picture. Esther HaMalka was told to not speak, do not say your name, your birthplace, and she kept it all quiet. And Rochel was obviously a descendant, Esther was a descendant of Rochel, and that is the midah of shasika. So the medrash, the question on the medrash is, well, we see how each of them kept quiet, but no one explains to us how Rochel kept quiet. And this is part of the explanation where Rabbi Rav Shlomo Shvadron gets this from, because Rochel's midah was silence. She did not share what she had done. She did not tell to her sister actually the chesed that she had done for her. And she was able to live with that. And she was able to keep that inside herself because she was so at peace with that. And that is real true giving from a very, very good place. Going back to our original question then, how come when Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Moshe all came, and they came forward and they were willing to give up things themselves for Bnei Israel, that their answers were not taken, but hers was? So there's a few ways to understand this. First of all, what Rochel had done was exactly what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was in a situation with. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had his children serving Avodah Zarah, his children serving another god, not him. And he was, and in the same way, Rochel was giving over her husband to Leah, to her sister, in a similar way as in two people sharing the same precious thing. So that's number one, that was like really similar. Number two, really important, is that, and this was a beautiful debater, and I slipped on who actually says this, that basically Rochel was the only one in those examples who gave voluntarily. So Avraham was commanded to, Yitzchak went commanded to, right, by his father, even if that wasn't from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, okay? Moshe was commanded almost, he was told, he didn't, it wasn't from himself that he became the leader. Rochel is the only one that took initiative on her own. This was coming beyond. No one asked her to do this. If she would have married Yaakov and not given Leah the signs, yes, Leah would have been embarrassed, but it wouldn't have been her fault. It would have been the fault of Lavan for putting Leah in that situation. It was specifically because she went beyond here. She was able to do more. She thought she was sensitive and delicate and did more than was expected of her. She went beyond. And that is the midah here. And so really the same is true with what she's asking from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. According to everything, you are right. The Jewish people need to be destroyed. The Jewish people deserve to be destroyed. The Jewish people deserve this. However, go beyond actually what is going on here. And even though it's not supposed to be, go beyond that. And we know that the way that you work, midah keneged midah, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu works you. So she was saying, look, if I, flesh and blood, could do that, please can you do that? Okay. Now, later on, when we're talking about Rochel, after the Judaim event, she actually is, sorry, I apologize, it's before the Judaim event, actually. Rochel is still distraught about the fact that she's not having children. And she's turned around to Yaakov and she says to Yaakov, Hava li vonim, give me children. And if you don't give it to me, I'm dead. So what she was really saying here, by the way, is that she saw that when Yitzchak and Rivka didn't have children, it was Yitzchak's tefillahs that were answered. So she's saying to him, I'm davening. Are you davening? You've got children from Leah already. I don't have children. Are you davening enough for me? Right? It was one thing she was saying. But the second part of the pasuk is one I want to focus on. She says, and if you don't give me, I'm dead. There's nothing. There's no point me living. I've got no life. And Yaakov gets very angry with her. And he says to her, he says, am I instead of Hashem? Anyway, he gets angry with her. And the question is, what was he so angry about? Why is he angry here? And I'm not going to go into the Peshat, I'm going to go into a deeper level about his anger, but on a Peshat level, I feel like I should say he was angry that he was saying, am I like instead of Hashem? But on a deeper level, Rav Yitzchak Arama, who is actually a commentator on Rashi, says the most beautiful explanation. And I have to say, this actually isn't in line with where my share was going, but I felt like I had to share it. It was so beautiful and moving, because when I heard it again, it really spoke to me. So Rav Yitzchak Arama says there are two roles for a woman. There is the Isha. These are the two names that woman is actually called in Bereshit. Isha, which means a woman, and Chava, which means mother, Ein Kochai, mother of all life. So because of these two roles, Rav Yitzchak Arama was saying that Yaakov was angry with Rochel because she was not thinking about both of these roles. She was thinking about Chava, mother of all life. If I don't have children, then what's the point? If I'm not bringing the Jewish nation, if I am not the mother who's bringing the different tribes, there's no point. I have no purpose in life. Why am I here? And Yaakov was angry because he felt she had forgotten that she was an Isha, a woman, not just a mother, a woman. And he was saying to her, and we see this actually in last week's Sedra with Noah, when Noah is called an Ish Sadik, and Rashi says, what do you mean an Ish Sadik? And it says that the good deeds of a person are his children, basically. And in the same line, the purpose of being an Isha is that what you're doing is powerful within itself, your role. So it's not about necessarily being married. It's not about having children. And within our community, this can be really challenging because there are a lot of people who might not be married, they might not have children, and they think to themselves, well, what place do I have in Yiddishkeit? Because often, and for different reasons, obviously, because there are mitzvahs in terms of marriage and children, they might feel that perhaps there's no role for me, there's no place for me. Where am I supposed to be when it comes to Yom Tov, when it comes to Shabbos and Shul, and what's it for me? Where am I supposed to be with all of this? And Rav Yitzchak Arama clearly says, and he says this extremely powerfully, that one must not forget both of these roles, okay? And one must not forget that one is an Isha. One has a purpose and a role of oneself to fulfill within their Yiddishkeit, within their relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, within the community, within their friends, within all these areas. And Yaakov knew Rochel's greatness. And she knew, and perhaps we're not exactly clear if he knew what she had done, but if anyone knew except for her, it would have been him. And he knew how good she was. And he knew how difficult it was for her that the Shavotim were coming about through other people. And he knew that she wanted to actualize her potential by having these children. But it was a huge lesson. He was trying to say to her, don't forget, there is more than that. You are who you are within your Yiddishkeit, within your life. And that was a really powerful, powerful lesson that he wanted to portray to her, which is why he was getting angry with her, because he felt that she had forgotten about her role as a woman. going back to Rochel Imeinu and thinking about Rochel Imeinu, this giving, this level of being mavata and being able to give is a really powerful lesson. And I think at this point, it's been quite heavy. So I think it'd be nice to have a story about a real power of giving. Rabbi Pesach Krohn gives a wonderful story about a lady was sitting Shiva, and unfortunately she'd lost all her brothers and sisters. She was the last remaining relative of the family, and she was sitting Shiva for her husband. And actually, I don't think she had children, actually, if I remember correctly. I'm not exactly sure, I can't remember, but she was sitting Shiva by herself. And this couple came to be Menachem Ovel, and they sat in front of her, and they were all talking about her late husband, and she saw these people, and she thought to herself, I have no clue who these people are. And she didn't want to say anything at first, but later on she started thinking, like, I really don't know who these people are. So she actually said to them, she said, you know, I'm really sorry, but I don't recognize you. Are you maybe friends of my husband's that I didn't know? And they said, no, we're not actually. So she said to them, oh, sorry, why are you here, basically? And they turned around to her and they said to her, we have this thing that we took on for ourselves, that we do never want somebody to sit Shiva by themselves. And what we do is we get the Jewish newspaper and we look in the Jewish newspaper when we see someone. There's an organization called Miss Askim, which actually publish in the newspapers, like, unfortunately, like who's sitting Shiva. And they say, we look, and if we see one name on its own, normally it will say like a few names next to each other. If we see one name on its own, we know that person is sitting Shiva by themselves. We don't know if they have any family, and we want to be there for them. So we took it upon ourselves 1 year to go and be Menachem Ovel to anyone who is sitting Shiva by themselves. And that is the level of giving out of sensitivity, where actually you have no mitzvah, you have no obligation to be Menachem Ovel people you don't know. You have no need to make the effort and the journey to go there. Being Menachem Ovel is difficult to people who are sitting Shiva, but they went out their way because they did not want another Jew to be on their own. And they were worried that they wouldn't have people there. And that is an example of really being Menachem Ovel and really going beyond when actually there was no necessity for it. Okay. And moving on, so I'm quite a fast talker, so if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to pause. If not, I will keep on going. Okay. Sorry, my screen has just stopped. So I just want to give you the next slide, and I can't. Give me a second to see if this works. No, we've gone blank. Can you still see me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good, because I
We
feel
can
like
see you and we can see the screen.
okay, so I'm not going to be able to move to the next slide only because it's frozen. So we'll just have to manage with that, which is a shame because actually it's quite a nice picture, the next one. Anyway, the next picture is a picture, you can't see it. The next picture is a picture of a female sheep. And the question is obviously why I have put a female sheep as a picture on there. Anyone know the answer? If not, I will tell you why. So the name Rochel actually means female sheep. And there are obviously various reasons for this. On a simplistic level, much of the story of Rochel and Leah has to do with sheep. So they met by the well where the sheep were coming. He worked as a shepherd for 7 years. There was a whole situation as he was leaving between Lavan and him about the sheep and the speckled and all of that. Anyway, why though, on a deeper level, is Rochel called a sheep? And I think this is really the crux of Rochel. Much like a sheep is a very, I mean, I know obviously it can get upset, but it's quite a docile animal comparative to a lion or comparative to lots of, other animals. And Rochel, in the same way, was accepting of a very difficult situation. She was very accepting of the fact that she made this decision to give up her husband, and therefore Leah married and had the children. She was accepting that actually she had it really difficult because she waited many years for children. with the birth of her second child, she was in terrible pain, and she actually died in childbirth, having Binyamin. She was only 36 years old at that point, so we can imagine how young that is. I mean, I know from the Torah perspective, things shifted a bit earlier, but still, she was really young. She had only 2 Shavatim, and life for her, I'm trying to get my PowerPoint still desperately, only because it's also got my notes for me on, but I think, oh, has it changed?
No.
No, sorry, I think I'm just going to have to give
No.
up about that.
No.
Okay, we're giving up. We're going to verge on. Anyway, so Rochel was able to be accepting. And yes, we do hear that she not argues. She's very strong with Yaakov before when she says about children, but we don't hear her rally so much against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We don't hear her express, like, how could you do this to me? I gave up everything for my sister. How can you not give me children? Like, I've done everything I should have done. You know, when she went to take Laban's idols, it was from a good place. I don't want to take that. I don't want my father to serve idols. And yet she got punished, and unfortunately she was niftera, so she was giving birth. But we don't see that at all. We don't hear that from her. And I think this is a really crucial lesson from Rochel, that she was able to follow like a sheep, even when it didn't make sense where the shepherd was taking her. Even when she didn't understand, what is the purpose here? Where am I going? And I think this is exactly why she is the one, also a third reason why she is the one that HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens to, because she represents not understanding and not seeing the here and now. She never had a really happy life necessarily. But she was innately, she was a total, filled with emunah. She had total belief that this was the right thing. And therefore she is the one to comfort us in Golus. Yes, you don't understand. Yes, it doesn't make sense. Yes, we have no clarity, but we are sheep. We must follow HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we must make sure that even when things are difficult, we still keep our emunah. And she actually, they say in terms of spiritual DNA, that they give us the ability, that the Imahis give us in our spiritual DNA the same capabilities. Just like somebody is able to be moisa nefesh, to give up their life, is very simple because they got that from Avraham Avinu. So too, Rochel gave us the capability of keeping on going and having faith even throughout the goddess. And the similarities between Rochel and Esther are huge. I've actually, funny enough, I gave an Esther share here last time, and the similarities between their lives, they both had difficult lives. They both gave up their loved ones, right, for the sake of Klal Yisrael. And actually, all of that is the crux really of Golus, of keeping on going when there isn't understanding. Okay, so I think there's a few things that I want to summarize, and then I want to just do one more thing. So the first is, we spoke about giving from a place of strength, the ability to give from a place where we know it's right and we're doing the right thing. And when we're doing that, we don't need anyone else's validation. We can hold it together. We can hold it in because we know it's the right thing. We spoke about being delicate with other people and the way that Rochel was able to actually help Leah so she wasn't embarrassed without Leah even knowing it. The biggest form of tzedakah is when you help someone without them even knowing that you're helping them. You know, the biggest form of tzedakah is you give them a job. So they don't need your money, but they feel that they deserve your money. We spoke about, from Rav Yitzchak Karama, the value of our roles as women, not just as a wife or as a mother, but the value as our roles as women and the actions that we do and the lives that we lead. We spoke about also the fact, we haven't actually gone into this so much, but the sachar, the reward that Rochel got, this huge reward of being the only one that was able to save her children because of what she did. And the koyach and the reward for what she got for what she did. The last point and then we also spoke, by the way, about the silence, and about the silence that Rochel was able, like her relatives, like Binyamin and Shaul and Esther Hamalka, to hold it. And actually something to think about from a psychological point of view. There are two types of silence. There's like, I don't know if you've ever had this when you watch like conversations. There's someone who's like silent from withdrawal, like they're deliberately not talking because they're not really there, or they don't want to be part of it. And there's silence from wholesome peace, from a sense of, actually, I'm okay here. Like, I don't need to say everything. I can let someone else lead. I'm okay here. I'm confident. I'm innately at peace with myself. And Rochel had that level of silence, the level of silence of saying, actually, I'm okay. I don't need other people to know that I've done this to my sister, because I don't need to think about that maybe I didn't get because maybe she had more children, because no, I did the right thing here and I'm okay with that. So whatever the ramifications are, I'm okay with. And the final kind of thing I wanted to say, and again, I've just lost the slide on this as well. 1 second. I might just try 1 second. Okay, the final question, which I wanted to go back to, was thinking about why we call Rochel Mama Rochel. Why? Why is she Mama Rochel? She only had 2 tribes. So the first answer is on a simplistic level. There would have been no tribes without her. If it wouldn't be for her giving up her husband to Leah, Leah wouldn't have had any tribes. So first of all of Leah's children really are Rochel's children. Second of all, when Rochel didn't have children, she started bringing in the maidservants, and then Leah copied her maidservants. So again, all the maidservants' children are her children. So effectively, even though she didn't give birth to all of those 12 children, they are called her children because they came about through her, which is a huge thing, because really effectively what we're saying is she is Mama Rochel. She is the main Akeres Habayis. She is the main mother, because it was her actions which caused all of the children to be born. And that's why she's called Mama Rochel, because really they are her. So that's one reason. And the deeper reason we were speaking about as well before is that she was beyond. She was able to go out and cry out for Bnei Yisrael, her children or not her children, because to her there was no differentiation. To her, it was all about the future of Tali Yisrael. It doesn't matter that she gave birth or that she gave birth. These are the children of Yaakov. These are our children. These are the future of Tali Yisrael. Interesting as well, on the point of Shasika, of silence as well, very interesting that actually we see Rochel and Leah, the Beis HaMikdash is actually built between the portion of Yehuda and the portion of Binyamin. And Yehuda obviously being from Leah, the kingship, and Binyamin from Rochel. And again, that almost metamorphosis of everybody kind of all amalgamating together almost, where there's a combination that everyone together. And again, when the people were exiled as well, the people were being exiled, it wasn't just her children necessarily, it was all of the children again. So I think that emphasis of her entire love and devotion to the Jewish nation as a whole in everything that she did. So I think just going back to the original, I'm trying again to go back to my PowerPoint and it's again not working, so we'll forget it again. I think really, really important lessons here. I tell you why I'm getting upset here as well, because not upset, but I'm just trying, not upset, but I'm just trying to get it to work, because I've got a video I want you to watch at the end as well, but it's not letting me do it. So
would it help if you email it to Anita?
I think what I'm going to try and do is I was going to try and stop screen sharing, but my mouse isn't allowing me to even do that. So I'm going to do that quickly. Now, what's the email, Joanne?
Needs. Okay.
I'm typing it.
Oh, sorry.
Technical difficulties.
I'll get it right now.
There, I've just put it.
Oh, you got it there. Okay, Anita, ANYTAL @ outlook.com. I should know it.
Okay, so ANYTAL @ outlook.com. Perfect.
Outlook.com.
So I've sent you, Anita, thank you so much, the entire PowerPoint. And on the last PowerPoint, there's a video.
You don't mind me saying, I'm just very impressed with myself actually thinking of that.
Bear with me a second.
I'm saving the day as usual.
No idea what I'm saying, but there you go.
Anyway, so let's summarize while Anissa brings up the video, hopefully, Ms. Hashem. If not, I'm happy to email it another time. It's just a really nice video a powerful song, which Joanne was playing at the beginning, and just a few pictures and images of Cave Rochel as well, that I just thought would be nice to share at the end. So just in summary, I think the main thoughts I want you to kind of walk away with are I'm trying to remember, oh, 1 second. The main points I want you to walk away with are number one. Oh, is it working?
It's working, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving.
Yeah, okay, let's go back.
It's moving.
It's
Yay.
working. Baruch Hashem, Chasdei Hashem. Okay. Number one, what did Rochel do that was so special? She was able to give over to her sister the signs, but in secret, so that her sister didn't even feel embarrassed in front of her that she had actually known that what Rochel did. Number two, is all giving the same? No, it's not the same. Giving from a place of strength cannot be compared to giving from a place of weakness, and we should all strive to give from a place of strength. I really remember, by the way, I should mention when I'm saying that at this point, a chinuch shir that I take with Shoshana Lopkin with Rebbetzin Svetna, and she gives a really insightful point on this, that with children, you know, sometimes we're encouraging them to be mevate, give up, and there ends up often one child giving up often. And she said, turn around to that child and say, do you want to be mevate? Because you don't have to. Because we want to teach them giving from a place of strength, not that just always give in because you feel like you have to, because it's the only way to please everybody else, but because you want to give in, because it's the right thing, not just because you feel like you have to. Side point. Okay, Rochel and silence, the idea that actually holding within, when you're holding within something, it's because you know it's right. You don't have to share it because you're at peace with that. And you're able to give from a place of strength, and you're able to do the right thing without having to share. And the silence that passed down through all the generations where, you know, I think, and I can't remember the source of this, but someone who once said, you know, that in your life, there will be things that you do silently. And it's that kol demama daka, like that thin, silent voice. It's that power when actually no one else needs to know about that chesed. No one else needs to know how you were embarrassed and you didn't respond. No one else needs to know. There's that kol demama daka, that voice which is silent and quiet. And that is the strength of silence. And that means as well that often that silence is a closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's between you and him. There's a sense of only he knows, only he really knows what's happened for you. Number four, why was Yaakov so angry when Rochel said, grant me children, if not I am dead? Because the beautiful concept from Rav Yitzchak Harama, you are not dead just because you don't have children. You have a purpose just because you are a woman, and you can give and you can do, and you're Masten Tovim. And then number four, why is she called Mama Rochel when she had the least tribes? What is unique about her being our mother, and why is she the one there for us in exile? Because it was through her that all the tribes came about. She had this innate desire to bring the continuity of Klal Yisrael. And that is why she is our mother. She is called Mama Rochel, no one else, because it was through her that all the tribes came about. And it was her innate desire. And why is she the one there for us in exile in Golus? Because she understood Golus. She went through Golus. She understood it clearly. And she was able herself to rise above that and still be a sheep, to still be a Rochel, to still be able to follow the shepherd, even when it didn't make sense to her. And she was able to cry out for her children. There's a very famous story by Rav Chaim Shmulevitz that he went, and I don't know if you've seen, there's a video going around, a very nice video from the Rochel Imeinu Foundation, actually, if you haven't seen it, because I'm sure that speaker did it more justice than I'm doing it quickly now. But Rav Chaim Shmulevitz actually was very, very, he went to Cave Rochel and he actually said to Cave Rochel, Rochel, don't stop crying. Keep on crying for your children. Keep on crying for us. Cry for Klal Yisrael. Cry for all the people who are unwell. Cry for all the people who need Yeshuas. And he literally went to the cave and told her to keep on crying and not to stop crying for her children. And that's also part of the beautiful song. We'll hear later. I don't know if it gets to that point. But anyway, so those are the really summary of Rochel Imeinu, her life, and I just want to end on this.
Tali, before we end, can I just ask you, somebody had put in the chat, sorry, but you can't give, obviously, a sign subtly. Either she told Leah what the simon was, or she didn't. Do you want to just expand on that, please?
A great question. And the question is understood like this. So the question is, what were the simonim? So the simonim actually were the halachas of marriage. They were actually about, from, we hear them from Sorah. They were from what I understood, they were the halachas of marriage in terms of Nizar, Chala, and Shabbos. And they had agreed it between them. So the way that Leah did it is she told Leah those things that she knew, but she didn't tell her that those were the things that Yaakov was waiting to hear from her. She just told them to her, and Leah just, this is really, she's told me some really nice insights here. She's told me some really important facts that I needed to know, or really important material. But she didn't, Rochel never said, I'm telling you that Yaakov will ask you these questions. She just thought, she's told me this. Oh, it's so interesting. She's told me these things. Yaakov was also speaking about these things because he wanted to make sure I knew them. Great that Rochel told me that.
Okay. Is that clear to ever ask?
Does that answer the question fully? I hope it does. If not, I will go back and see if there's anything more to answer.
Okay. Anything else in the chat? Is that okay? You can unmute yourself and say, thank you. Okay, there we go. Thank you for an amazing share. Okay, so we're going to finish off, and before we leave, we'll go back to Tali and we'll be Mafish Chala. So we're ready to
having
carry
the same problem again that it's not allowing me to share this video, unfortunately. So I'm going to try one more time to double click and see if it brings me back. Like it somehow a minute ago it brought me back. Now it's no longer letting me. Oh, here it is. Amazing.
Okay. Why would Rochel have known these things and not Leah, who was older? Because Yaakov taught them to her, not because she would have learned them. Is that right?
Joanne, you should be giving this share.
No. I'm actually just sitting and enjoying and listening. It's
no,
beautiful.
really?
I love it.
Spot on, Joanne. Because Yaakov obviously had got them from his parents, from Rivka.
Okay.
Right, okay. So here's the video. Perfect. I hope it works. If it's not working, tell me. Nothing's happening yet. Cannot play media.
Okay.
No, it's not letting me play it.
Needs anywhere, any reason?
Let me see if I can do it. Hold on.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll tell you, if we can't, what I will do is share it on all the groups that I share everything on.
Perfect. It's to be honest,
anyway.
it's just a sweet video. It's not like, they want to make it into it. It's not a video I made. Someone else made this video. So it's kind of got pictures in, and, just to keep that in mind, it's just a video that I found. I can't even remember where I found it from, actually. So don't worry. It's not a big deal not to have it.
Okay. So I'm just going to say thank you. We're going to make a bracha on the challah. And I guess one of the 3 mitzvahs of the Isha. So it's a beautiful thing that we can be doing with the energy of Mama Rochel with us, and really that it should just be that it should be very, very soon that we are all going to be in Yerushalayim, because we need it. So let's go have my challahs here. So Baruch Hashem, this is going to be the 4th bracha made in this room tonight on Hafrasha, and Be'ezos Hashem, there's still 2 more to go before Shabbos. So let's go. Let's hope that Mama Rochel hears all of our tefillos and pushes them forward to the Kisei HaKavod.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech HaOlam, Asher Kiddishanu, B'mitzvosav v'tzivanu, La'afrish chala min ha'imsa, Harei zu chala. In the zechus and the merit of Hafrashas chala.
Amen.
All of us together, Klal Yisrael, should join together b'shalom. Last week when I went to visit Lily, our wonderful Sapta Lily Ebert, and I was there at the same time that her granddaughter Daphna was making her TikTok little message for her TikTokers, and which go to 1.9 million people who watch her TikTok. And she made the most simple, powerful, beautiful message. And she just said, hello, TikTok, Shabbat Shalom. And when you hold on to that, I just want to be able to say, hello, Klal Yisrael, Shabbat Shalom. It should be the Shalom. And she said, what is the most important word? the most important word that we have is shalom. And we all need that. So Be'ezras Hashem, we should have a Shabbat of Shalom. We should Be'ezras Hashem together as Klal Yisrael be in Eretz Yisrael very, very soon. Shalom. So thank you very much. Eretz Hashem, your grandmother should really have an aliyah and a shamas. We wish all of Klal Yisrael a refuah shalema. All of Klal Yisrael, we should have all Yeshuas and Be'ezras Hashem together very soon. And in the schus of Mama Rochel, that the koyach should be with everybody, that we should ask and utilize that energy for now. So, Shabbat Shalom.
With the rising sun on her wedding day, she raised her eyes to the heavens, and she thanked Hashem for the man of truth, with whom she would build a nation. But with nightfall came destiny betrayed, the veil concealing another. Yet a sister's shame, not her shattered dreams, took hold of her heart and her senses. Mama Rochel, cry for us again. Won't you shed a tear for your dear children? If you raise your sweet voice now as then, the day will come. Mama Rochel, cry for us again. Won't you shed a tear for your dear children? B'zichutech v'shavu vanim ligulon. In a roadside grave, she was laid to rest in solitude forever. But her voice gave hope to the broken hearts of her daughters and sons bound for exile. When her plaintive cry gained divine consent, a challenge to her maker, can the mercy of mere flesh and blood run deeper than yours, our Creator? Mama Rochel, cry for us again. Won't you shed a tear for your dear children? If you raise your sweet voice now as then, the day will come. Mama Rochel, cry for us again. Won't you shed a tear for your dear children? B'zichutech v'shavu vanim ligvulon.
Oh, we stuck.
Still going on?
I'm finished now. I
So
didn't get
it's
stuck.
ended.
Okay, what we'll do is anyway, we will reshare and we'll put it out there, but that was very beautiful and thank you. And if anybody wants to come and join us on our Women's Learning Program in January, let me know. If you haven't seen the advert and you'd be interested, let us know. We still have a few places left. And that is January the 7th to the 12th. And one of my favorite pleasure, one of my absolute favorite is being at Clever Rochel. So we should just all be blessed to be there soon.